I heard that last night was a good time. Who was there last night? Yeah? Shout out some of the things that came out of last night.
Just living heart-centered and doing work like from our heart that we're letting passion like lead us. Can you speak louder? I'm not capable of that. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're on stage. Living heart-centered and working from our heart and letting our passion really lead us. And I think that one of the main things that I took away was that like success or our perceived success, whatever that may be, that comes from following your heart, really. That's like when that magic happens, is like when we align our heart and our work. Yeah.
What else?
Are we sharing takeaways?
What?
Are we sharing
Yeah, takeaways from last
Yeah,
night.
so the takeaway, I didn't have a chance to share it on the Facebook page today, but the one that really struck me and that struck a chord was the idea that the world needs what makes you come alive, because the world needs more people that are alive. And so this sense of like being your best self is really what is the biggest solution to inequality. It's not like how you get there necessarily, but who you are in that space. So empowering.
I love that. What else? What other takeaways?
Keep showing up. He gave us a statistic where like only there's 0.8 attempts per like trial for Americans for like their business and other stuff, which I thought was fascinating. That people don't even give it a full one attempt. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, tonight we're going to start off by talking about last week and seeing if there's questions. And then, as we talked about last week, we're going to dive into the market analysis piece tonight. And so we've got another worksheet, but only one tonight, not three like last week. And we're going to work on that. So we definitely have some time to do work tonight together as well, so that we can get caught up. I know that last week was a lot, and we'll introduce some new terms tonight as well. And from here, next week we start the financial piece of it. So this is going to wrap up kind of the first quarter, or their trimester, I guess, of the program after tonight. And that is covering kind of the product development life cycle and all the kind of ways to do research and surveys and all that. And you'll hopefully, towards the end of the class, you're going to start to see how all these different pieces come together. Right now, they're individual pieces, but you'll start to see a couple people have already shared that they've already seen the impact of how they needed to have all these one-on-one conversations and really get a lot more information about their market and the products and their competition and how that can really impact their business. So let's start with some people that want to share about kind of exercise in class last week and experience they've had this week. Has anyone done any surveys or had any like realizations, good or bad, or got stuck or whatever? I want a couple people to come up and share their experience from doing that. Who wants to go first? All right, there. Come on up.
About doing the homework. Well,
Yeah, just like,
I got stuck.
okay, perfect.
Just in general. So not really doing the homework. It's like one of those, like the week before I did so much, and like this past week is basically just a crash. Like I crashed for the complete weekend. Like I could canceled a lot of things I had going on. It was just my event, like no one showed up. So it was just like one of those like, it was like such an up week, like meeting a superintendent, and then just like, and like, so the weekend was good, and that I got my energy back, and I feel like but it's like just a notice that that's a pattern of mine. to like go really, really hard for, it's not usually a week, and then crashing for a week, that's new. But yeah, I figured I'd just share that, because I definitely don't feel like I feel like I'm in a good place of not like super discouraged. It's just like one of those like dips. So yeah, Saturday I hope to like really devote the day. I don't have anything on the calendar to like really catching up with all this work. And, yeah.
What are some of the things that your intentions for Saturday that you have planned?
To just catch up on all the worksheets and like actually have them like hanging up on my wall, like look at them and see the overall picture. Just really dive deep into it.
Okay.
Just catch up.
So the week before, it sounds like you had some good meetings. Share some of the like conversations briefly, how they helped you move forward, or not.
Yeah, no, they helped me move forward as far as like, just excitement, right? Like I have on the calendar a meeting with the superintendent now, and just like direction, like I think I shared it last week, kind of like the middle school stuff. I figured I just shared that I was stuck, just to like let everyone know that's where I'm at, and maybe receive a little support, and just yeah, sharing. But yeah, I'm still excited about those meetings, and I'm excited to do the worksheet, the market research worksheet, and really I wish I had time to get to it this week, because I think that I have so many directions I can go right now to focus on. So like continuing to narrow that down is really exciting. Yeah.
Well, does anyone have any questions or comments for Joe?
It's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally relate,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep. I don't think that's ever going to stop, right? So yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
You get a
Yes.
prize for sharing.
I'll re-get them.
All right, who else wants to share? Now there's people sharing. We got chocolate involved. Oh, no.
Solidarity. Thanks, brother. So yeah, I feel like this week has been like I have like a lot of things in the oven, and I'm trying to like regulate different temperatures with like the same gauge. And it's putting like a significant amount of like bandwidth, and I realized like that I'm trying to. I saw this TED talk around like extreme ownership, and I was realizing at the beginning of some of my ventures, like I was like looking at other people in my partnerships to like, look, that's their strong suit, like they should be doing that, like I don't need to be worrying about that, and then things wouldn't get done. So I've been switching it to the other side of the pendulum, where it's like I've been taking on a lot of the assuming the ownership, and noticing that when I do that, the other person feels like, oh my God, I'm taking away their responsibility, and then they come in, no, I got that, that's mine, and then they start getting it along. So that wasn't my intention, it was just from a place of stepping into that. So, and one of the things was actually that was like going out and doing some research and getting a little more feedback from our samples or new samples, getting up collections for next fall. And that wasn't really like mine to do, but by putting it on, and I realized by doing that, it activated my partner, but it didn't. Other things that I had to do were sacrificed. So it's like trying to get as much of the things that I have on the docket done, and finding the system. So I'm in this like, I'm trying to cook all of these dishes at the same time, and realizing that, oh, my sous chef isn't doing his job, so I need to do his job too. And then when I show up and do his job, then he steps back in, but then all of a sudden I just burnt this plate over here. Does that resonate a little bit with you guys? So I'm feeling like a little burnt out, and also like I know that I have enough time to do it. It's just a matter of like being more deliberate and like eliminate more distractions.
Have you had a conversation with your partner?
Yes, but when it was and the ongoing conversations, but it was when it was in a situation where like, hey, you guys need to be doing this, I wouldn't feel like they'd act. So when I saw the TED Talk and I was like, all right, extreme ownership, I'll just, like, if this thing isn't gonna get off the ground, I don't wanna sit in a position later on down the line that like, oh, it was their fault. It's like, no, it didn't, because I didn't step into that role of like leadership, ownership. So I think that through the proactivity that I'm putting forth and like just taking things on is activating them to feel a deeper sense of responsibility, or if they can't handle the fire, get out of the kitchen, right? And we'll find somebody else to do it, you know? Not to say that that's what we want, but I just feel like through the proactive like action, like they'll catch up to speed and maybe get a headwind and, you know. So.
Anyone else have a question or comment for him?
Pat him back.
All right, here's the chocolate. Who else? All right, come on up.
Alright. It's been one hell of a week for me. So, I'm sure some of you may have saw my post yesterday where I'm now opened up a photo studio. That kind of all happened really fast, 6 months ahead of schedule, kind of forced on me. So basically my overhead has doubled, and now I'm like rushing to get more clients in the door and also build everything, a whole new online system for booking and selling the studio online so that I can fund it. So that's been really fun. Just been sitting at my computer constantly, like clicking invite and building a website, and still trying to balance like growing the rest of my business the way I've been planning it. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Right.
It's just a lot to step up to really fast, and you know, it's kind of one of those make it or break it moments, I feel. But it's stress levels have gone through the roof.
Got it. So how can this class support you?
I think the organization techniques are going to be pretty awesome as far as reaching my clients effectively and finding my target market in a better way.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you answered actually the question I asked, but I meant to ask a different question, which was how do the people in here, how can this group here support you do this?
Tell every photographer that you know that I can rent my studio.
Yeah, talk to me.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my rates are awesome. I offer monthly or hourly. It's like half of what everybody else does, but I mean that's what my model is.
Yeah.
So.
How are you working?
So far, word of mouth. My website's almost finished. I'm still waiting for some stuff to get cleared out of my house so I can finish rearranging everything, so I can like take pictures. And so that's one thing I did. Like I did a Craigslist post last Friday just to test, and I already had like a handful of people, but some interest. Like people coming over to look at it, and people emailing like asking pictures. So that was good. A little boost of confidence. Like just right away, people were like interested. So there's definitely a little market there. It's just going after it and then learning how to sell it too. Because I've never had to sell a photo studio. So it's like, what language do I need to use? Like, what are people actually looking for in a studio? You know, like, because I've only gone and used a couple, like, and then other than that, I've had my own in my house, just kind of makeshift. But now, like, I'm turning the whole front of the house into a real studio with like relaxation and changing room, like an office area. Then I'm just gonna like have my tiny little bedroom with all my stuff.
So I have an idea. What if you thought of running a free meetup group where you invite photographers or aspiring photographers and you give them a free course of how to take portrait photography at your studio, and you teach them how to do it, and you say, oh, and by the way, at the end of it, this studio is available for people who want to take portrait photography.
I like that. Brilliant. I love it.
That was worth sharing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll even provide barbecue meat.
All right.
I didn't look at your post yet, but are all the details like for pricing to
They're
share
coming
there?
together. I'm kind of jumping in before I've learned to swim on it, just because it needs to happen yesterday.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know a few people I want to share it with, so just to make
Yeah.
sure I have all the details.
Yeah. My website's pretty much ready to be shareable.
Cool.
And then, yeah, I just have a little Facebook page just to have that.
Sweet.
So I'm just kind of going to direct some people to it, because I can do the social media marketing and target just photographers and small businesses and stuff in the area. So, yeah, I'll let you know. It'll probably be tomorrow, because I'm going to work on it all day.
Anybody else? All right, thank you for sharing. All right, so I want to have a couple people come up and the work that we did last week. It's not, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just where you are right now, which is, I want you to get up and say, hi, my name is da-da-da, my company name is XYZ. I sell this product, this service, whatever that is. The industry I am in is blank, and my main two competitors or three competitors are, right? And that's just if you don't know some of that, you can leave it out or say, I don't know yet, or whatever. But I want a couple people to come up and start to practice that initial pitch. So who wants to be brave and go first, or I will call on you? All right,
Okay.
come on up.
All right. Hi, I'm Jennifer. My company is Mindfully Evolve, and I sell mindfulness programs for children and teens. And the industry, I have a couple that I think we're a part of. I think we're a part of educational services and children and youth services are our industries. Some of our major competitors are the David Lynch Foundation and Mind Up. And then some of our more local those are worldwide or US-wide. Some of our more local ones are going to be the UC San Diego Health Department has a mindfulness center, and they do children and youth services for mindfulness programs. And then Mindful Schools as well. That's an online mindfulness program for teachers and children.
Perfect, that was fantastic.
Cool.
Hold on one second. Let me ask you a couple questions. So, and you may not know the answer, but well, how about, do you have a sense for the size of your industry?
No.
Okay, that's fine. That'd be something that would be really powerful to
Would it-
add into your pitch.
Okay.
In the $16.2 billion education industry, or educational,
Okay.
whatever industry. And
I was
know
going
did
to
not.
ask if you were maybe like more specific in terms of mindfulness within that industry, or
If you-
just educational services in general.
Whatever you can find, right?
Okay.
And so it could be helpful for both the educational service industry and more specific, which is a $16 billion industry, and more specifically the mindfulness, which is estimated to be $5 billion of that $16 billion, or something
Oh, okay.
along those lines. That would be a powerful addition to that pitch. All right,
Okay.
who's next? See who's like darting their eyes in the back of the room. You want to go? Come on up. If you need it, but so your name, your company
Okay.
name, the industry you play in, your competition, and what you're selling.
Okay. My name is Heather Hemmer, and my company is The 30 Clean, and we are in the health and wellness industry. Our competitors, our biggest competitors are probably Jenny Craig, the Whole30, and Beachbody. So any other companies that are doing and hosting 30-day challenges, whether it be for fitness or nutrition. And currently our product is a clean eating challenge. We have 30 days, 7 days. We do them in communities as well as doing individual challenges, so called Simple Starts. And we also have one-on-one coaching and sell digital meal plans to help people get into better health, eating real whole foods, and using coaching and community as our way of strategically getting people to where they need to be and bringing them to a place of putting themselves first.
All right, so instead of me, I want to see what you guys, questions you have for her or comments. You guys just got to hear part of her quick pitch. Do you get it? Were you confused about anything? Like, this is the time to be really honest. This is a safe space. So, like, what thoughts about her quick pitch?
I just have a
Yeah, as I was saying it, I kind of felt like I wanted to do that and then I didn't.
Because I'm familiar, and also I'm familiar with Jenny Craig, and I'm familiar with the Whole30, and they are, to me, like wildly different approaches. Like in regards to the recommendation, structurally maybe not so much, but like the actual recommendations.
So I guess what I would say is like, we are the Whole30 philosophy with the idea of the community and camaraderie that Jenny Craig provides.
I like
So we're putting the two things together to make it better food, high quality, and education in a group surrounding, like setting.
Cool. That feels really real to me. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, there's this thing, and like, this is what you are.
It's great feedback. What else?
I just thought it sounded really good.
Of course you did. I know.
I need
She's
some
great.
confidence boost. All right,
I feel
thank
like I
you.
needed more energy.
I think that you're just super authentic, and you're just very like open and, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but like it's the authenticity that helps you sell it, and just your ability to be yourself and not try and sell something, but just to like embody the why you're doing it and the reasons why you're doing it, kind of what we were doing yesterday. That's what gives you that. I think with the people that actually connect to that, they feel trust. It's always the trust.
Thank you.
It's your birthday. You were trying to do that.
Did I forget to give you a chocolate?
Yeah.
All right, do we have one more person that wants to come up and do a quick pitch? This is your time. These are opportunities to get feedback in a safe environment. Do you want to come? No, go for it.
Okay.
All right, come on up.
I'm Catherine Rogers. My business is called Vivacious Desserts. We offer specialty food products specifically for paleo and vegan eaters via an online sales platform as well as retail stores. And the main competitors in this market locally are a business called Paleo Treats that offers prepackaged individual desserts, as well as some other small-scale dessert companies across the country that do direct-to-consumer sales. There's one based in New York that has a few items in their catalog. I think that's it.
All right, good. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Are you better than your competitors?
I think so. I'm different. It's a lot of the sourcing of those products is general, whereas Vivacious Desserts is very in line with supporting local and fair trade ecosystems.
What's generally?
General in the sense of their everyday products. Almond butter or almond flour that's coming from, I'm not really sure. Sweeteners that are coming from, I'm not really sure. So.
Why's that problem?
Well, for conscious consumers, people that are really passionate about what they're putting in their body, it's very important for them to know the sourcing and also the impact that their buying decisions have on the larger environment as well as the workers who are producing the food.
So that's what makes you different.
Yes.
Do you deliver? Or is it just like event planning or local?
So I'm in the process of getting an online sales platform set up as well as a distribution network that'll start in Southern California and will grow from there in the next year or so.
Keep me posted.
Cool.
So need that.
Carrot cake delivered to my house.
Yeah, you should be able to. Or you can probably hopefully find it in your local Whole Foods or other natural resources. We already had the carrot cake. We're gonna have to try a different dessert option.
Anyone else?
Just a quick idea, have you looked into like Postmates things at all, to do like a service through Postmates?
Yeah.
Because they like go and pick up food from places and bring it to people.
That's a
Oh,
great idea.
They'll like go
I
shopping for
hadn't
you,
thought about that.
all of that. So that could be a
Okay.
little avenue, because they don't really have too many healthy things in there. It's mostly like fast food or places like just major restaurant chains, stuff like that.
Cool.
So,
I'll look into that. That's a great idea, especially for local distribution.
yeah, there's a few companies like that as well. And
Okay.
I think Uber does it too.
Yeah,
Uber
I'm
Eats.
doing it now.
Delivery.
Food.
Sweet.
Oh, yes.
Literally sweet. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's a great idea.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Did you want a chocolate? They're from I don't know where.
No.
They're not healthy like yours. So I think, thank you for the ones that volunteered. I encourage you to use this program as an opportunity, as when we give you opportunities to get up and pitch. And also, when people ask questions after you've given kind of your little 30 or 60-second pitch, really listen to those questions, and so that you can edit what you're saying, so that the next person doesn't have the same question necessarily, so that you're able to, because we know our own business so well, sometimes we forget the obvious. And so you just want to be really careful, or not careful, but really aware and listen to after you pitch, rather than just keep talking. So just a little tip. So tonight we're going to be going into the market analysis, and what that's going to do is add some clarity to that pitch around who you sell to. I think that this is a topic that is challenging for a lot of new entrepreneurs. One is it actually takes quite a bit of time to figure out your market and really narrow and niche it down. And so, you might start really wide. I hear a lot of times when I say people, oh, who's your market? Well, everyone could buy it. Well, that's great, but that's not who your target market is. It needs to be really niche. My personal philosophy, and this is just my personal philosophy, so when you're starting a lifestyle business, you want to find the smallest target market that's easiest to approach just to get started. Now that takes time. The product market fit conversation that you're going to be in can take a year or two to really get totally clear. But you can make a lot of progress quickly to get it narrowed down to a couple different options, and through these surveys and one-on-one conversations, make sure that you're actually right on that and to learn these markets. The story I told about walking up and down the beach and handing out flyers when I started Vavi, that's how I did my market survey, and I got to say it's single women in this age demographic and single men in this age demographic that were my main target, and they were within a certain age, and they lived in a certain area, and they had certain types of jobs, and I only learned that, and I was able to narrow down those really focused things by having all those conversations. So what I'm going to teach you tonight is some market analysis, how it works, right? And what some of the new terms that you need to know. And it will give you a new frame to approach this from, so that as you go on this journey over the next year, you have some new tools to work with in terms of understanding of what all this really means. So any questions on that before I... The terms that we're going to cover, addressable market, target market, why is this the target market, and just some tools that we use to really help refine the target market research that we do. All right. Anyone know what addressable market is? Or want to take a stab at it? Make sure my computer doesn't respond.
Like potential market that is market potential, like the clients in which you're going to be actively addressing.
Yep. Yeah, and so when you're talking about market, I would say the addressable market is that big, big goal. Man, I really think that someday I could sell to everyone in the world who likes to eat healthy, right? I could be a global company, right? And that could be my addressable market. Or, I really think that I could sell to everyone who likes to eat healthy in the US between these ages or whatever, right? that's your addressable market. That's great, and like having a big addressable market, if you want to scale really big, is important to consider when you're starting. If you don't really care about scaling really big, then it's less important. You can have a smaller addressable market. But that's different than your target market. So right. So let me do just a couple terms, just so that we can all be on the same page when we dive in to start talking about this. We've got two terms, B2B and B2C. Stands for business to business and business to consumer. Who are you selling to, right? We talked about last week the difference between, I think we did, between your customer and your end user. Sometimes your end user isn't your customer, right? And so this is talking about who you're selling to. Are you selling to other businesses and then they're selling to the end user? Or maybe they're not. Maybe other businesses are consuming your products. Or are you selling directly to consumers? And so understanding who your customer is important when you're doing a market analysis and market segmentation. And the way that you can narrow it down is a little bit different. So we're going to talk here in a second about the different ways to do each one of these. All right. So we'll come back around to that. Total addressable market or total available market is the biggest piece, right? It's like everybody that you think you might be able to do business for is the easiest way to describe it. There's a lot of definitions, but that's probably the simplest way. Your serviceable one is all that can be reached, right? So people that want to eat healthy in an underserved community in some third world country, really you're not going to be able to reach them, right? They're just not serviceable. And so it really starts to narrow your focus down if you start to okay, let's just be realistic. Yes, they'd like to be my customer, but they're really not going to be my customer ever. And so you start to narrow it down to a serviceable addressable market. And it can be narrowed down by geographic region, by income. It can be narrowed down by a lot of different ways that we'll talk about. And then your target market, which I actually should have made the target market much smaller for this particular class, because that's where you should be right now. It's really focused in on a really small target market. That's kind of the lowest hanging fruit potentially. And these are the people that you're aiming your resources at. So this took me years to figure out, right? Because it scared me to pick a small target market because I was like, I want to be a big business. I don't want to exclude anyone. But the thing is that all those people can still come to you and you can still sell them. But you have very limited resources to go try to get them to come, go outward and put energy into getting them to come to you. So there's a difference between who comes to you and you can do business with and who you want to push out marketing, sales, focus, energy towards that can come to you. And because you're limited, if you have limited resources and you spread it out over your entire serviceable market, you're not going to have much of an impact anywhere. But if you have a narrow target market, you can really start to make an impact quickly and have some results to have sales conversations around. Does that make sense? I see a lot of nodding. Okay.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, please.
This is amazing to me right now because I think that I just figured out that I just need to put all of my focus into targeting doctors, not the actual person that needs help, because that's who I keep getting business from is the doctors, and that's who I want the business from is I want them to send me, whether it's NDs or chiropractors or whoever they are. That's who I need to be. I've just been putting energy in the wrong direction. So this is cool. Anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's amazing. And so are doctors are you selling them a service or are they referral partners?
Yeah, so I guess that's what it is they've been referring to me.
Okay.
Doctors that I have relationships with.
Right. And so I think you're 100% correct, that like your marketing strategy could be to focus on starting up referral relationships with doctors. I don't know if that's true or not, but that sounds powerful to me, right? And the way you told me, it sounds like it could be too. You're still needing to get clear to be able to tell the doctors who to refer to you. You need to be able to tell them who your end consumer is. 'Cause ultimately, you're still getting money from the customer, not the doctor. So your target market is actually still the customer, but your marketing strategy is going to be the doctors. But I promise you, if you know and you limit your target market to something that really makes sense, and you tell those doctors will start referring you business. If you go and tell, oh, I can help everybody, you're not going to get referral because they're not going to connect the person they're talking to with that. But if you get narrow and focused and you tell those doctors, you're going to see referrals start showing up pretty powerfully. Does that make sense about the distinction there?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider the training that doctors receive to recognize, I don't know what type of patients you're looking at, but the way the medical industry works, from what I've seen, is that doctors are trained to look at a set of symptoms, make a diagnosis, and based on that diagnosis, there's only a specific set of treatments. And what they're doing is just marrying diagnosis with a specific treatment. And so if you can, and that's what's going on through the having the processing and evaluating a patient. So if you can get them to see you as one of those treatments for specific diagnoses, then you're playing directly in line with how they do their day-to-day work. So I think, yeah, you're definitely onto something there.
Thanks, yeah. You're right. Totally.
Anyone else have anything they wanted to share? All right. What is market segmentation? Who wants to take a stab at it without just reading me what's up there? I should probably ask the question before I open the slide up.
Well, I guess like for my case, it would be like we have a giant market might be the education system, and then under that are like administrators, teachers, parents. Is that would those be segments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So segmentation is really just dividing up your market into smaller markets, right? And eventually, as your business grow, your target market is going to grow, and it may contain multiple target markets. Where I would say you're at right now is you're probably going to think of 2 or 3 really small target markets, and you're going to go out and test your theory, and hopefully just find one. And what you might find is that you thought it was 3, and you go out and you start talking, and you realize that one of them that you thought is actually like 6, and you can further refine it, and out of those 6, it only may be one segment of that, right? And so this is an evolving process, right? And the more you learn about your market and the more you learn about how to segment them, the more focused you can get on this. So needs, interests, and priorities are ways to organize into segments as well. Geographic, businesses, consumers, so. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different ways to segment. Yep.
The needs, needs, interests, and priorities. Is that just our own subjective analysis? I mean, of like how to.
Well, it depends. So it's going to be a little bit of that. It's going to be research, primary and secondary research, and ultimately you're going to like have to prove that you're right by okay, I've identified, I think there's a need, right? You start off like, I think there's a need in this market. Like this table, let's pretend this is a segment. This is a market segment right here, right? It's that middle table up front, right? What are your guys' needs, right? Your needs are that I need to shower before I come to class because y'all closest to me and I might stink, right? Versus back there, you guys need me to make those bigger up there. It's really simple example, but.
So, is it more like looking at the when I say needs, priorities, and interests, is that like almost like our own internal Maslow's pyramid, like they need this stuff. This is a priority, and they may be interested in that stuff that's a luxury item. That's something that.
Yeah, so when you're doing an analysis of like a specific segment, you're gonna start to like look at that. I'll show you here in a second about how to kind of get more detailed and come up with a customer persona that represents a segment.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna start with business to consumer types of segmentation, because like I said, there's business to consumer and business to business. So if your customers are consumers that are the ones paying you money, this is different ways that you could start to think about segments, and it could be any combination of these. It doesn't have to be all of them, but you can. One of the easiest ways geographically, right? If you're selling something, like there might be a geographic limitation on it. Demographic, which is things that can be measured, like age, I guess sex would be in there, other things that can be behavioral. So certain people might have certain behaviors, right? One, I just keep using your example, but healthy food. You might find that like a particular segment all do yoga, right? And so maybe like it's, women age 25 to 35 that live in Encinitas, California that go to yoga 3 times a week. It's a pretty narrowed segment, but there's probably a thousand people in there. Could you get 10 or 20 of them as your first customers? Probably, right? Psychographic those are more like interests. That's what like needs. Those are the things that aren't necessarily measurable, but are you can apply to them. So it might be those that are self-conscious about have self-conscious about their image or body image or something like that. It could be I don't know what occasional segmentation is. I remember having this last time and saying I needed to delete that. I don't know what it means. I think it's a typo, but I can't figure out what it means. But segmentation by benefit, so like
Occupational? We both have.
that might be it. That's probably, let's say that's it. That makes sense, and I couldn't figure it out. So, and then sometimes you can different benefits. So when I think of one of the examples is for Vavi Sport and Social Club, some people wanted it to meet the like a potential dating partner, but if people were married, they just needed it to get away from their kids and have some fun, right? And so those were different benefits for different groups of people that I could segment them into. And then cultural segmentation. And so I know that we're living in a PC world where you're not like supposed to do a lot of this, but like when you're doing your market analysis, like you need to understand culture and like does that impact buyers' decisions, and like some cultures may not be a fit for your product or service, and that you can segment them in or out, of your focus as well. And so this is just an example of 7 segments of the U.S. smartphone population, right? They broke it up, they named them, they came up with cool prodigies, tribals, personals, pragmatics, browsers, occasionals, talkers, right? How many of you follow the talkers category? And then they had, things over here. So what is the primary operating system they use? When do they visit social media? It's a lot of random stuff, right? But if you start to build this segment definition, you start to really understand your customer. And if you really understand your customer, when you're talking to someone, number one, you can know if they're a customer much quicker than they can know if they're a customer, right? You may even know before you go talk to them in a lot of ways if they're a customer. And so you can stand in a room and be like, actually, I'm pretty sure those 2 over there are my customer. I'm going to go talk to them. And that comes only with learning and analysis and really getting clear on it for yourself. And then you can also develop questions really quickly. So you're like, these 3 might be my customer, and I can ask you 2 questions, and you're going to tell me the answer, and I'm going to be able to figure out if you're most likely my customer or not. And I can either change the subject in the conversation, depends on what situation I'm in, to figure that out. Any questions on B2C ways to segment if you're selling to consumers?
This marketingcharts.com, the source experience marketing services, like, is this free information for markets, like stats like this? I mean, this chart that you're using is as an example, but is this a resource that we could look into?
I have no idea. I don't remember that particular one, but I'll give you some resources at the end.
Just because of the terminology, prodigies, tribals, you mentioned that, but that's very particular language for, I guess the question, is that more particular, like language that's been developed by whoever is actually doing the research, or by the people that own work, or that own?
Yeah, so I'm not sure in this particular instance the answer to that question. There are some companies that have created market segmentation broadly that like broke up the entire world population into it's like 264 groups or something like that, and they provide some online free information. I found that it wasn't that helpful to use those. It was like, oh, that's really helpful from a intellectual standpoint, but when I actually got in and started using it, it was like, these aren't really the best segments I can use. They're too broad, or they're, I think for big corporations they may work better than your small company, but and I can't remember the name right now because I haven't used them in years because I didn't find them very helpful. But I may be able to think of it later as we get to that piece of it.
So in our case, I mean, I guess it's just like trying to take the concept and being able to act on it ourselves. Like, whether it's fashion or education or food, I mean, are we going to create our own demographics or our own segmentation?
Yeah, we'll start to create segments that you start to define characteristics of those segments.
Okay.
And you start to build your own little kind of segments like this. Okay. So B2B segmentation, if you're doing B2B segmentation, you probably also need to do B2C. Even if you're not selling to consumers, you probably need to understand who your consumers are still, just to keep in mind if that's what you're thinking. There's really three main types of segmentation for B2B. It's a lot simpler. When you do segmentation in consumers, there's a lot of variables that you could use, right? And you kind of just have to pick or choose and do your best and not overwhelm. But really, in B2B, you're looking at company size, and you use either revenue size or employee size for those two, the geographic location, and niche and markets, like who they're selling to. And usually it's a lot easier to figure that out because if they're successful, they've already figured that out usually. Companies that don't know this information or like have an unclear market segment usually aren't successful. And that's why this is so important for you guys to like really figure out what that is. So an example of this is like, okay, I've got a pizza sauce, right, that I want to sell. Who am I going to sell it to, right? I could sell it to individuals at flea markets or farmers markets, but after a couple months, I'm exhausted. Out at farmers markets all the time, I'm selling 10 or 20 a day. I want to up it, so I want to sell directly to I want to sell wholesale to other people. Like, who am I going to go to? So you start to look at how the industry is broke down and what is the channels in which it all moves. So you could sell to a food service firm. Like you could sell to manufacturers of certain types of products, like frozen pizza or packaged ingredients. You can see how they could use your pizza sauces. You could sell to supermarkets, right? And if you further it down, like if you're selling to supermarkets, you could sell into private labels, which is essentially, if you go to a supermarket, there's a generic brand there usually. And it's labeled with like the supermarket brand. You may not know that that's what that is, but the supermarket actually owns that brand name. And it's usually actually the same product that's sitting next to it that's like, the Kellogg's cereal versus the like Vaughn's brand, which I don't know the name of. But they actually just buy the product and put their own brand on it a lot of times and sell it for a little bit cheaper. And so if you had a commercial pizza sauce, you could sell it directly to the grocery store. And they could put their brand on it, or you could sell it with your own brand, or both. On the food service firm, they sell to restaurants and pizza stores, they can be franchises or independents. And so these are just ways that you can narrow your focus in your B2B, right? A lot of people are using schools, right? And that's not really a business, but I would say that's, if the school system is paying you, then you're thinking about it in schools, right? And so I would say, okay, well, what size schools am I focused on? Where are they located? And then, is it elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, right? And then, private or public would be another way to segment schools. And so you start to really get clear and narrow down. It's overwhelming if you're like, well, I want to sell into schools and I'm just going to focus on everyone in San Diego. Well, everyone in San Diego might make sense someday, but not today when you're first getting started. It's like, what is the smallest group that's easiest for you? Who do you think your first sale is going to be to? Let's focus on that small group. Questions on this slide? So some of the things when you're looking up market that you're going to come across, just the data points or your market size and potential. So you'll come across like, oh, okay, I want to sell to blah, 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 blah. How many people are in that market? Like, sometimes you'll be able to find that data. If you're narrowing it down really niche and you have all these variables, like to find that data is going to be really hard. But you may be able to find like a bigger set of that. So it's like, all right, I want to know how many women between the ages of 25 and 35 for your company live in Encinitas. Well, that's publicly available data. So that's a place to start, right? And then you might find some statistic with how many people do yoga. Well, I'm going to assume that, it's a little bit higher percentage of this group does yoga because it's Encinitas and da-da-da-da. And so you can kind of make some assumptions as long as you highlight those to kind of get a sense for the size of the market to make sure that it's not, too small or too big, right? Do I need to narrow it down or is it about the right size? And then what's going on with that market, right? Is it a growing market? Is it a shrinking market? Those are going to be important for you to consider, right? There might be a shift in that market, right? It might be, yoga's on the way out and Pilates is on the way in, or something. Who knows what that is? But just to understand what's going on with your potential target markets or the segment you're choosing is important. Any questions on that one?
With the trends piece, maybe we'll talk about this too, but what are good trusted sources or where are places to kind of read? Because I found when I was doing my industry analysis, I did find among the trade associations pretty solid trend analyses. But the markets that fall in that category, it was talking more about products than it was about people. And I feel like a lot of, you can read about things, but it's some blogger that's talking about whatever and not necessarily pretty clear source.
Yeah, so these are some of the tools. I wouldn't say that these are good for trends. These are more trends for data. Trends is really hard on market, and it's totally dependent on the market that you're going after. When we do business plans for people, we spend most of our time just scouring the internet looking for articles, or maybe they're scholarly articles, or some other company produced a report that was a big company, and we're like, wow, I'm sure they did a good job on this, and so we'll cite them. A lot of times, the big competitors in the space will release public reports on the market. So it's really it's an egg hunt. Is that the right term? Any other questions on this? All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to have Danielle come up.
Can we do a 2-minute stretch really quick?
Liz, come on up. Can you tell everyone what's today?
My birthday. He said happy Valentine's Day and I was like, happy birthday.
I'm I'm just stalling for a minute here.
Okay, cool.
Are you ready?
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy
Birthday, dear Elizabeth. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I'm so lucky to be a part of this group. I really am. I feel like I said this earlier, but the last like 24 hours maybe, like last night's workshop and then tonight's workshop, I'm just like soaking it all in. Like everything is starting to just really resonate with me, like in a deep way, and I'm just feeling good. I'm happy to be a part of this. So thank you all.
Can you cut that chocolate strawberry in like 10?
Nope.
It's her birthday.
All yours.
Not Valentine's Day. All right, guys. So, what time is it? 7:15. So, 7:10. So we're going to have about 40 minutes here to work on the market analysis and dive in deep and do some actual research. This will be really powerful. I'll be walking around if you have questions and need some help. Depending on how it goes, I may just grab someone and workshop them up in front of the class, kind of in the middle, just so everyone gets an idea of how to do this if a lot of people are being challenged by it. And then we'll wrap up at the end with some announcements and all that good stuff. Next step. So there's 3 buckets on this one. And this is one that you're going to fill out tonight, but like this is the one that like you're going to need to fill out a whole bunch of times. So you'll want to print out other copies and really refine this as you learn more information. And so your target market segments, we talked a lot about that already. So start to refine those down into different groups. Then kind of create your group and then give it a name and describe that group, right? What are their characteristics? All the different ways that we talked about doing that. And then the last part is when you start to segment, you'll start to realize that different segments of your market will purchase your products different places. Or through different channels. And so that may become more obvious to you. I would say that's the last thing to do. If you don't get to that tonight, that's fine. Any questions on that one? Does that make sense? So some might purchase online, some might purchase at a store, some might purchase through a doctor, through, we don't know where they're going to purchase through. So, cool? All right, so let's do this. And if you have questions for me, just raise your hand. You can also kind of ask people